my February wrap-up, and it's so late in March, and I planned on doing this earlier, but I haven't been feeling well, and I've been so crazy busy, that I just haven't had the time. But here we go. Now's the time. The time is now. Seize the day. Time is of the essence. Whatever else you want to use. So I had a crazy reading month this month, and I read a total of 15 books, but out of those 15 books, like 2 were novellas, so however you want to read that, grade that, whatever. 15 books is so good because my Goodreads reading goal this year is 100. I know, super ambitious, but I got 15 in a month, and I've only started this month. Like, I didn't read the months before that for this goal, so not bad, I don't think. Pretty good. Alright, so I read a mix of ebooks and physical copies, so I'm just going to go in order of when I read them. By the time you read this, I'll Be Dead by Julie Ann Peters. Technically, I started this book in January, but I finished it just as February rolled up. This book was okay. It was neither good nor bad. I rated it 2 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I wish I had something like to pop up here that I could show you, like 2 out of 5. This book is about a girl named Daylene, I don't know, who is severely depressed and has tried to kill herself previously. But those botched attempts lead her on suicide watch, so she has to wait after school for her parents to come pick her up. And that is when she meets a boy named Santana. Except Daylene doesn't have any room in her life for friends because she signed on to this website called throughthelight.com, which is a website for completers, as in people who have completed the act of killing themselves. The only thing is, Santana, he's pretty persistent. The thing about this book was that there wasn't a whole lot of backstory to Daylene, other than like a few incidents of bullying. There wasn't a whole lot of drive to her at all. I felt like I knew more about Santana and his mom than I did about Daylene and her own family, which was kind of disappointing because you only met Santana's mom like once. So how come I know more about a character I've met once than I do about the main character? I don't know. Riddle me that, Julie Ann Peters. The best part of the book was the website, watching Daylene go through the website and figuring out how to get rid of her things without her parents noticing, figuring out which method of killing herself would be less painful, less noticed, give her, the amount of time to do it, yada 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 yada. The ending of this book is very open-ended. There's no conclusion. I normally like that in a book, but for this one, you needed some closure. You needed to know what happened, and it wasn't given. Next, I got into the Mortal Instruments series, which I borrowed from my friend Kat, and then I lent her copy to my cousin, so I don't have it anymore. Oopsie daisy. Okay, I was given it like last summer, but I was reading a lot of things at that time, and I didn't get around to it, and then when I came back to school, I was super swamped with school, so I didn't get to it then, and for whatever reason, I picked it up in February and was like, I'm gonna read this, now is the time to read this. So I did, and I am so very glad I did. So if you don't know what City of Bones is about by now, by Cassandra Clare, I will give you a brief synopsis. Clary is an average human being who stumbles into this world of demons and shadow hunters. But the stumbling, it might not be so innocent after all. Her mother is kidnapped, her apartment is ransacked, and she herself gets attacked by a demon, which she miraculously survives. From there, she is whisked away to learn all of the knowledge that there is to know about shadow hunters and demons. And her path is pretty straightforward from there. Or is it? We just don't know. So, my favorite character, hands down, is Alec. Alec. And he wasn't even really that huge, main, important in this book, but Alec. I didn't like the first chapter. It was really weird. I felt like the point of view switchings weren't necessary, and it didn't really do that for the rest of the book, so I was like, what? Why did you start us off like that? That's so confusing. I didn't dislike any characters except for the evil ones, but even then I love to hate them. The big bad, Valentine, he kind of reminded me of Voldemort, and I didn't know if it was just the name or like what was going on there, but I was getting a Voldy vibe. You should try saying Voldy vibe, it's really fun. Okay, the readers, me, you, us, were pushed into like 80,597 love triangles, and I loved every second of it. Every second. At one point in the book, I think it was at the diner, no spoilers, they were just at a diner, I texted my friend Kat and I was like, I just want them to be all in one large poly relationship, please. Just like Simon, Jace, Clary, and I said Simon already, who else did I put in there? And Alec. Because that would be beautiful. It would be beautiful if they could just all love each other. I'm waiting for that. I haven't read any of the rest of them yet, but I'm waiting for that. Characters I hope to see more of is Magnus. We didn't see him a whole lot in this book, but he was super helpful and my favorite character, right? Am I right? Please tell me I'm right. Okay, I hope Simon continues to stay in them. And this is just, you probably already know what happens, but this is just me hoping, explaining my hopes out loud to use. And I hope we see Hodge again, and some sort of justice is served. Preferably cold. Or no, it's revenge that's served cold. I read the Need Pixies series by Carrie Jones, and I did an entire a little bit ranty review, which I will link in the down below. The books are as follows. Need, Captive, Entice, and Endure, and they span about a month collectively. They follow the main character Zara, who is fighting pixies alongside of her were-boyfriend Nick. Then some crazy stuff happens, and she falls out with Nick, and it's crazy. It's crazy. But then the first war kind of calms down, and of course it just can't stay quiet in this darn town, can it? No. What good book would it be like? In this quiet Maine town. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't stay quiet, and this second war that is looming over them is so much worse than the first because this second war will bring Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the Norse end times myth, and the battle scenes were cool. That's literally all I have to say. The battle scenes were cool. The characters were so bad. They were all so whiny. Not all of them. There were a few of them that were okay. You didn't know all that much about them, so they were alright. And then there were like one or two sprinkles of fantastic kick-ass characters, but most of the time we were left with Zara's thoughts. Zara, who was whining, who do I love? Who do I love? And am I being me? Is this me? Am I still me on the inside? It was just frustrating. It was a very difficult read, but you know, once I start a book, I don't like to put it down unless it's absolutely awful. And I didn't want to do that. It just pegs me like, you started it and you didn't finish it. To see what else irked me about this, check out the video. Then, gratefully, I picked up Cinder by Marissa Meyer, which is book 1 in the Lunar Chronicles. It's set in the futuristic world of New Beijing after the Fourth World War. Cinder in this book is a cyborg, which is half human, half android, machine, whatever. Point is, she's looked down in society, but the society has more pressing matters to worry about than cyborgs. They are dealing with this plague called, starts with an L, sounds really scary and fancy, medical. It's a plague, and it's killing everyone, and it's not stopping. Anyway, but this plague is only killing people on Earth because there are people who live on the moon called Lunars. The Lunars have this magical mind control power called Glamour, which they can use on, I believe, each other. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they can use it on each other, and they can use it on the Earthens to make them look beautiful and kind and whatever else their heart desires. So they are dealing with this plague, and then the Lunar Queen is also threatening a war. And it all rests on the newly crowned Emperor Kai. Kai and Cinder meet at random, and suddenly Cinder finds herself having to make some difficult choices between saving herself or saving the world that has never been kind to her. I don't want to put it down. I did. I put it down. This book is so fabulous. It's kind of ridiculous. At one point while reading, you know, just chilling, just reading, I went, "What?" And my grandmother, she was sitting beside me while I was reading, and she looked over and she laughed at me, like laughed at me. It wasn't like, weirdo. It was like, what is she doing? I'm laughing. But if you need, you know, a reaction, like if you need to know how good the book is, take a reaction like I just had. Like I did that. I really did. I thoroughly enjoyed every single character that was presented. Literally every single one. I did not find one lousy character in this book. I didn't. The world was not difficult to follow at all. It stayed very true to the fairy tale Cinderella while remaining completely unique. The world wasn't difficult to follow at all. And while the book was, you know, slightly predictable, when my predictions were confirmed, I was still like a complete mess. Like, what? I mean, I know that's what I was guessing at, but how? Huh? Yeah, that's me reading this book. Okay. I couldn't guess everything Cinder was gonna do, even though I kind of guessed some aspects of the story. I'll be honest, when I first read the back of the book and saw the words cyborg and futuristic world, I was like, maybe not for me. I picked it up anyway. And I'm so glad I did. So if you're feeling cautious because you're not into like sci-fi space, but you do enjoy fantasy, pick it up. Just stroke it, smell it, do whatever you need to do to connect to this book, because once you finally open it up and start reading, you're going to be like, why didn't I do this sooner? Because that's all I said after I read it is, why didn't I do this sooner? Just the characters were phenomenal. Phenomenal. Next I read Glitches, which comes at the end of my copy of Cinder, which is the half-book / prequel to Cinder. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect it to come with this copy, but it did. No complaints. No complaints. This is Cinder's backstory, and I can't really tell you too much about it other than I didn't need any more reasons to love Cinder, but it gave them to me. It gave them to me. I mean, I can't tell you much more without spoiling it, but just read them. Read the half-books. If you can get your hands on them somehow, do it, because they are so worth it. They're half-books, and they're as good as the entire actual book. Ugh. Hi. So during the editing process, which I'm doing now, which is why I'm filming this on my laptop, I realized that my wrap-up video is like a half-hour long, so I have to split it into 2 parts. This is the end of part 1, and you will see part 2 very, very soon. Bye.